Hey, hello, howdy, how you doing? I have a confession to make. I've never actually played Stardew Valley before. I have it on my Nintendo Switch, and I've even opened the main menu. But I've never truly sat down and experienced everything this gem has to offer. Because of this, and the thousands of comments and DMs I get asking for it, I finally caved and decided to spend 100 days in Stardew Valley, but with a twist. All of this was streamed live so that you could all experience this with me. All links are listed down in the description if you'd prefer a less edited experience as well. With that being said, this is how I spent my first 100 days inside Stardew Valley. After designing my mini Bob Ross, I began my journey through Pelican Town. My only objective for today was to meet all of the townsfolk and get to know them. There's 28 people to meet for the starter quest, so I'll go through some of my favorites for now. The first one was Shane, who didn't really care for me. I'm throwing him in here because chat spent a good 2 to 3 minutes spanning how I couldn't fix him, so I'm sure we'll get into that later on. Next up is Sam, who looks like an anime character. That was my entire note on him, so moving on to my favorite character, Abigail, the big titty goth chick of Pelican Town. She was the highlight of the day for obvious reasons. Outside of that, I talked to a few other townspeople like token black character Demetrius, that's his real name by the way, not just making that up, before circling back to an old abandoned farm, before realizing that it was mine. The next day, I planted the parsnips that I forgot to take care of yesterday before heading down to the beach to meet Willie, where I was able to unlock fishing. I'm still trying to unwind from a month out in the salty seas. Buy me a new rod. With nothing left to do, I spent the rest of the day meeting more of the townsfolk. I was able to get most of them, only needing one more person, which was Demetrius' son, who likes to spend about 16 hours a day playing CSGO in his parents' basement. On day 3, I had my first experience with fishing, and oh boy. I know fishing is a viable money-making method, but I just don't see myself doing this any more than I have to in all honesty. After killing a few hours, I was able to find Sebastian on the dock, just staring out into the water. With the introductory quest completed, I went back to the farm and began clearing out some of the land. The following day, I learned that if I smack worms with a hoe, we can get books. After heading to the library to read the book that I uncovered, I went back to the farm and grabbed my fish to sell to Willie and see what he had in stock. Stepping outside on day 5, I was greeted by Clint standing out in front of my door. A little creepy, but he did give me a furnace blueprint, so that was pretty cool. He's quickly becoming my favorite person in town. Anyway, after he left, I followed him back to his shop where I watched him pulverize a geode, which may be the degenerate gambler in me talking, but I found it so incredibly satisfying to watch. I ended up getting some calcite that I donated to the Reddit mod running the museum and set off for the mines. This is my first time entering the mines and I was super hyped for it since everyone kept telling me how cool it was. I was able to mine a few copper nodes and even fight my first enemy. I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time here in the future, so I'm just excited to explore it some more. Looking back as I'm cutting the footage down and writing the script, it's hilarious to see how bad I am at this early on. Like, I spend so much time and energy just trying to break all the stones instead of just going down the ladder and moving on, even when I find a ladder within the first few minutes of each floor. On day 6, I harvested my parsnips, making this my first successful harvest in Stardew Valley. Afterwards, I headed into town, which prompted the following cutscene in which Lewis lured me into an abandoned crack house with promises of sour Skittles, only for me to get a borderline abducted by some ghosts hanging out inside. With the community center officially unlocked, I walked over to the room in the bottom right to touch the slab that King Ramsay so desperately needed. After touching the slab, I headed to Pierre's shop to sell my parsnips before buying 22 potatoes to help me reach late-stage capitalism. After planting and watering my new cash crop, I headed back to the mine for the rest of the day, where I found my first amethyst. Everyone told me Abigail loves this, so I set it aside for now and plan to give it to her next time I saw her. The next morning, I woke up to find a letter from the creepy wizard asking for me to come check out his lakefront property. Along with that, I also got a quest from Marlin to kill 10 slime in order to get into the Adventurers Guild. I chose to hit up the mines first to get my 10 kills since it seemed like an easy task, and most of the town isn't even awake until at least 9 AM. I was able to get all 10 kills by early afternoon and spent the next 7 hours looking for Abigail, finding her near Marnie's farm that evening.
Oh my god, rocks? I love these.
Day 8 saw me crafting my first scarecrow in order to protect my potatoes. After watering my crops, I set out to find the Wizard's Tower, which is located on the bottom left of the map near Marnie's farm. I've never met a true celebrity before, so getting to meet Aaron Rodgers in his little cabin was super cool. He showed me some magic tricks, like summoning a Jumino, though I'm not convinced he didn't just teleport into its house and kidnap it. We even got to do ayahuasca together, which led to me tripping balls before passing out. After waking up from the Bill Cosby experience, I read the scroll located in the community center, unlocking a series of bundles for me to complete. I finished the spring foraging bundle, but caught Linus going through people's trash while heading home for the night. George almost caught him, but luckily for Linus, George is a geriatric confined to his wheelchair, so I was able to defuse the situation and chalk it up to some pesky raccoons. I spent the morning of day 9 crafting more chests and organizing my gear. I have one chest for weapons and tools, one for seeds, one for resources like wood and stone, and one for junk. I figured that was enough to get me started, so I set off to mine for a bit. I do have a quest to give Sebastian a sunfish, but he's too busy grinding to get out of Silver in Rocket League, so I'm sure we'll catch him later. Later happened to be about 7 o'clock that night, about 13 hours after he started his epic gamer grind. On day 10, I finally built out a furnace. This will allow me to craft metal bars that I can use to upgrade my tools. Immediately after doing so, I accepted a quest to gather 20 copper ore that I can get some use out of. After giving Abby some quartz, I spent the rest of the day mining for copper. That evening, I got to watch a cutscene of Cupid Me coming to bless my crops. On day 11, I accepted another quest to find Robin's axe. Outside of that, I spent the morning mining to recoup 20 copper ore for Clint that I accidentally converted into copper bars last night. I was able to turn in the copper quest to Clint at around noon that day, and outside of that, I bought and planted beans, kale, and extra wild seeds I had. I also went back to the store and bought some cauliflower seeds and spent the rest of my money on potatoes. On day 12, I walked outside to find that I had been gifted a cat. I had chat give me some names, but I'm not able to show them because I'll get demonetized, and believe it or not, I like my job. Anyway, we settled on naming it Chonkers. He's a thick boy, but he embodies everything I aspire to be: fat, lazy, and given undivided attention. Other than that, I spent all day fishing to prepare for the egg festival thing. Day 13 was the Egg Festival, my first Stardew Valley festival. How exciting. I used what little cash I had to buy some strawberries, and after that, participated in the egg hunt, which I thought I was absolutely dominating, only to get outclassed by Abigail, who I'm pretty sure was cheating, but whatever. After the festival, I planted all my strawberry seeds and went to bed. Day 14 was spent mining, like literally the entire day. The highlight came when I almost died while trying to reach level 15, which in retrospect is incredibly sad to admit, but from the eyes of someone with hundreds or thousands of hours in this game, I'm hoping it gave you a small exhale out of your nose to watch me struggle with something so simple. I spent all of day 15 fishing after accepting a quest to catch Clint a largemouth bass. I think I'm starting to get the hang of this though, and it's becoming oddly relaxing. This game is awesome. Day 16 brought more mining, mainly because I'm really enjoying it and it's addicting. That's what I was trying to do, is like I need copper to get that, but I also need coal and I'm not really sure how to get coal right now. Just poison me. Where are they coming from? That was ridiculous. I managed to find some more amethyst that I can gift to Abigail and reach level 20, officially making it 1/6 of the way through the caving system. A steel smallsword? Get this rusty one out of here. Gross. Day 17 saw me harvesting all of my potatoes and kale. Probably the most exciting thing to happen to me so far in this playthrough. Scythe? Kale? Hell yeah. Outside of that, I spent the rest of the morning making copper bars so I can start upgrading my tools. That evening, I headed over to the saloon and played Stardew Valley's version of Project Zomboid on their arcade machines. The following morning, while I was on my epic quest to buy more seeds, I got a front row seat to watch Morris cuck Pierre's shop by offering 50% off coupons to all of Pierre's customers. If you think about this, it's kind of fucked up, right? I mean, they're all supposed to be supporting each other. They're a small town and everyone knows each other. And then all of your neighbors and friends are just like, yeah, but coupons. And then they immediately flock to the off-brand Walmart. Luckily for Pierre, the coupons didn't apply to me. Trust me, I tried. So I was forced to give all of my hard-earned cash in order to buy a backpack upgrade and 30 more potato seeds, which I planted as soon as I got home. That afternoon, I built out my own little fenced-in area for a chicken coop before being told by chat that this is not, in fact, how it's done, and I needed to find Robin, who wants me to shell out $4 grand for a glorified shed. I was so frustrated at Robin's capitalistic greed that I passed out chopping trees that evening while trying to flex how blue-collar I truly was. In reality, I probably belong at Super Weenie Hut Generals, but the citizens of Pelican Town don't need to know that. I spent the morning of day 19 chopping trees to gather logs and clear out the farm a little bit more. Since I was low on energy and didn't have a ton of supplies to sustain myself, I spent the rest of the day just foraging. The only deviation from this took place at around 3 o'clock when I took a short pit stop at the Adventurers Guild to see what they had to offer. Day 20 was spent mining. The TV gods told me life was good, so I decided to capitalize on it and see how far down I could go. Managed to hit level 25 early in the afternoon and even hit level 30 that evening. Throughout the day, I managed to loot a dwarf scroll off one of the enemies, so I kept that for now and made plans to donate it to the museum whenever I passed back through. The next morning, I got my first strawberry harvest, along with my beans. After selling all of my crops, I headed over to Clint and opened up all of my geodes before donating what I could to Gunther. Trying to keep the good vibes going, I spent the rest of the day fishing and even caught my first purple-starred fish. Day 22 saw me visiting a hat mouse. I'm told that you can get a few cowboy hats from him, so I made it my goal to obtain at least one in this playthrough, though I'm not entirely sure how to get any of them yet. Oh, I also triggered a sewer cutscene while walking around. This doesn't play a role in the rest of the playthrough since I ended up completely forgetting about it immediately after this, but I'm sure there's some cool stuff down there to explore. After an eventful morning, I went back to fishing to work towards community bundles. I don't think it'll be possible for someone like me to finish all of the bundles in 100 days, but I'm going to try to complete as many as possible just as a personal challenge, and because I think it'll help me discover more of the game and put me in situations I probably wouldn't normally attempt. Next morning, I got to harvest my cabbages. There's a real feeling of accomplishment when you finally start earning money in this game, especially when bulk farming. Outside of my cabbages, I also got an invite to the flower dance. Spoiler alert, I got completely sidetracked and ended up missing the dance. Oops. Anyway, that afternoon I bought a new fishing pole since I was getting wrecked by mid-tier fish. Naturally, we gotta test it out, so I found a cozy spot and started casting. By the end of the day, I'd added 2 more fish to a bundle. On day 24, I unlocked preserves jars as well as a recycling machine. The preserves jars will end up being my primary money-making method later on, but for now, we'll stick to basics. Speaking of basics, I was able to harvest another round of potatoes and beans. This will be the last harvest I get for the spring, so I didn't bother with anything else, farming-wise, for the next few days. Later that morning, I was able to complete the spring pantry bundle, and by that afternoon, I found myself back in the mines where I'd spend the rest of the day. From what I've been told, missing the first flower dance is alright since you kind of just stand off in the corner by yourself like a weirdo, and I didn't want to experience that level of shame so early on. Day 25 was full of ups and downs. Once Robin's shop opened up, I went ahead and bought a chicken coop. That'll take a few days to build, so while waiting, I took a stroll through town, stopping to see if Pierre had anything new to sell, which prompted a small Abigail quest where we played video games together, and I got to show off how much of an epic gamer I truly am. So far so good, right?
Super Luigi Galaxy!
Well, I thought so too, until I walked into the Adventurers Guild to buy a pirate sword, only to accidentally sell it back, leaving me unable to buy it back. I literally just gave the dude my money. The next 2 days were entirely spent fishing, mainly because I wasn't really sure what I should be doing while waiting for next season. I couldn't plant any crops, so that was out of the equation, leaving me really with fishing and mining. I figured I'd done enough mining for now, so fishing was what I landed on. Well, all of that, and I'm really starting to enjoy fishing. It's oddly addicting. While I lived every middle-aged dad's dream, Robin was hard at work in my chicken coop, finishing it up on day 28, meaning we can go buy some chickens now. The hound would be so proud. Now that we have a chicken coop, we need a silo for hay, which is to say, I spent the majority of the day on the farm, smacking trees to get enough supplies to build one. Alright, the first day of summer. Super exciting stuff. Since I have money now, I was able to buy a ridiculous amount of blueberry seeds. We're talking like 70 plus seeds, not including other crops that I'll need for the summer bundles. Again, looking back, this seemed like a ton of seeds at the time, which is funny when you see what ends up happening later on in the video. Now I can't plant these yet, since I upgraded my watering can and don't have it back yet, but I'll do it first thing in the morning. To end the day, I went back to the mines, finally unlocking iron nodes. As mentioned yesterday, day 30 was all about planting my crops. This took the entire day because I didn't start on anything until I was able to pick up my watering can. I'm also an idiot and couldn't figure out how I wanted to organize my farm, something I probably should have planned for during the last few days of spring. On day 31, I got a quest to find Lewis's shorts. Shorts being in quotations. Looks like our mayor is out here banging the townsfolk. Naturally, I spent most of the day hunting for his purple boxers in everyone's room, including the kids. We don't want another Jared Fogle incident here. Even Linus had to be questioned. Eventually, I was able to deduce where they were using my incredibly extensive knowledge of Stardew lore. And by that I mean I pulled up the map and kept guessing random homes until chat felt sorry enough for me and caved. Now all I need to do is get my hands on them and we can start blackmailing the mayor into taking over Marnie's farm, forming one ultra mega super farm. The underlying goal at this point is to befriend Marnie. There's just one big holdup. I have no idea what she likes and doesn't like. I was given one sole hint that she likes quartz, so I just went with that, though I'm terrible with remembering to actually check up on her, so this goes on for some time. Funny enough, I've had absolutely no trouble keeping up with Abigail though, giving her amethyst twice per week whenever I walk past her. I'm going to make a point real quick here. Watering crops currently takes me around 4 in-game hours per day. Because of this, I don't feel like it's necessary to show it off every morning, so just assume that's what's happening from now on. Outside of watering my blueberries, I stopped by Marnie's farm to drop off some more quartz before accepting a quest from Clint for copper ore. During my spelunking endeavors, I managed to reach floor 50, gaining tundra boots as a reward. Day 34 saw me donating a bunch of shit to Gunther before heading over to Clint to watch him process all of my geodes. This ended up giving me a few more items that I was able to donate to the museum, giving me 2 rewards for today's donations. The following morning, I stepped outside to see Demetrius at my door, offering to turn my cave on my farm into Mushroom Kingdom or a fruit bat sanctuary. I ended up going with fruit bats since it seemed like the logical choice for the bats to forage for me, though looking back, I probably would have went with mushrooms if given another chance. After wrapping that up, I spent the rest of the day fishing, mainly because I don't have any money at the moment, and also because fishing in Stardew is incredibly addicting and I can't stop. Honestly, day 36 was pretty quiet. I spent the majority of the day in the mine searching for more copper for Clint. On the flip side, day 37 was booming. I upgraded my pickaxe that morning, meaning I'll have to occupy my time in other ways than smacking bugs around. After getting back to the farm, I planted my mixed seeds and all my summer seeds that I'd gotten from completing a bundle earlier. With my crops all tended to, I began working on iron bars so I could upgrade my tools and start making sprinklers. The next morning, I got an invite to the communal potluck taking place tomorrow. As long as I remember to bring something, this should be a good way to jumpstart my political career and my journey to overthrow the mayor. Outside of that, most of my time was allocated to gardening. With all of the crops and no sprinklers, it takes several hours to water everything. Not the most efficient setup by any means, but I really don't mind it at the moment. With what time I had left in the day, I grabbed my fishing pole and headed down to the docks. As luck would have it, I ended up catching 2 super cucumbers, one of which I'll be using in tomorrow's potluck to blow everyone's mind. Day 39 was pretty exciting. I started things out with a bang by sacrificing Kevin the sea cucumber to the cucumber gods in order to obtain a secret hidden statue. After that, it was off to the luau. The potluck was pretty entertaining, but I also realized a major flaw with the townspeople. See, they just let you drop in whatever you want. Like, what if a psychopath lived here? What if Linus came down from the mountains and just took a massive shit in the soup? We'd all be eating shit soup. I started off day 40 by placing my Squidward statue on the farm. I also received a letter notifying me that I was going to be featured in the Stardew Valley Tribune due to all of my progress on the farm. Naturally, I'm going to capitalize on my newfound fame by launching my brand new cryptocurrency, Stardew Coin. After sending the idea off to the mayor, I hit up Clint to grab my upgraded pickaxe. That afternoon, I managed to stumble onto the spa and learn that I can use it to heal and regenerate my energy. To finish off the day, I hit up the mines with my newly upgraded pickaxe. This managed to work out surprisingly well, and I was able to loot a ghost fish, which I'll need for a bundle later on. Day 41 saw me completing one of the boiler room bundles, allowing me to unlock access to the safe. After leaving the community center, I triggered the second event with Abigail. With no real goals left for the day, I spent the afternoon fishing with a focus on catching all of the remaining fish needed to complete the lake bundle. Day 42 started off with me receiving a letter from Boozebag Pam, who asks for someone to bring them beer through a postcard. In other news, I got to harvest my melons, which I was able to turn around and sell for about 30 corn and another round of melons. Outside of that, I placed some sprinklers, but realized way too late that it only does one tile in each direction, so willing to change that in the future. The following morning was the most hyped I've ever been so far in this playthrough. See, my blueberries were finally ready to harvest. Selling them gave me around 12 grand to work with, which, sadly enough, is the most money I've ever had in this game so far. To celebrate, I set off for the community center to complete my summer garden bundle, which rewarded me with a single quality sprinkler. That evening, I finally pulled the trigger on building a silo so that I could go die for some chickens. Day 44 was pretty quiet. I finished another boiler room bundle, leaving only one left to wrap up. After that, I headed down to Willie's hut and blew through all of my cash on fishing supplies, buying 3 crab pots and an iridium fishing pole. Been really happy with my progress so far with the fishing skill in general. The progression feels very natural, and I didn't really even notice how big the bar had gotten compared to my first attempt back in the beginning of the playthrough. In short, day 45 was spent in the mines. The highlight of today came that evening when I found a lead rod on the floor. It has a special attack you can do by right-clicking that can one-shot most of the mobs down here as long as you spam left-click at the same time, which I thought was a really cool mechanic. By the end of the day, I'd reached level 60 and received a crystal dagger as a reward. Daggers aren't really something I explored all that much in this playthrough, but I'm hoping to continue this and give them a shot another time. The next day, I checked my crab pots and reset them, and then used the received items to finish another fishing bundle. The only real highlight of the day came at the end of it when I unlocked quality sprinklers. Remember like 4 days ago when I was super excited about my blueberries? Well, day 47 brought a second harvest. Selling all of them allowed me to buy 20 radish seeds and the second backpack upgrade, completing my inventory expansion. Naturally, I spent the rest of the day working away on the farm, planting my new radish seeds and clearing more of the brush out of the way. After waking up on day 48, I checked my mailbox to find a quest from Demetrius asking for a melon. Since I sold my previous ones, I'll have to wait until my next harvest before checking that off the list. Over the course of the last few weeks, I'd been accumulating a variety of random items and gems for mining and using the crab pots. Because of this, I decided to head over to Gunther's museum to see how he was holding up in light of the recent Reddit protest. To make him feel better, I ended up donating a bunch of stuff. This must have worked because he ended up giving me starfruit seeds as a reward. To continue my quest to overtake Willy as top bitch, I spent the remainder of the day fishing. The grind was starting to pay off, however, since I was able to finish another fishing bundle to end the day. Day 49 was spent back in the mines. I feel like I'm making steady progress here, so I wanted to put more focus on it. I was able to reach floor 65 in the afternoon and managed to reach floor 70 at around midnight, obtaining a master slingshot as a reward. Spoiler alert, I never use this throughout the entire video. It just sits in one of my chests next to my house, collecting dust. Maybe in another life. Continuing on the trend, I hit good luck on the TV again, so it was back to the mines. Managed to hit level 80 at around 5 PM that evening, and I also managed to kill a skeleton that dropped a bone sword, so I switched to that since it was an upgrade to the lead rod I was currently using. Outside of that, I managed to cap off my run at level 85 for the day. Miner, you gain more money. Okay. Fighter. Yeah, just more base damage. Day 51 brought yet another blueberry harvest. After selling them, I was up to 20k now and living lavishly. Taking advantage of the fact that I'd been living like a coal miner for the past week, I hit up Clint to process all of my geodes before upgrading my pickaxe again. After saying goodbye to him, I headed down to the museum to drop off all the random gens I'd received from the geodes. Day 52 was Willy's birthday. I gave him course to celebrate and then set off to find Marnie. After repeatedly saying how I wasn't going to focus on animals through this playthrough, I finally caved and bought a chicken. Chick Farley, named after legendary fat man Chris Farley, is now a staple in Pelican Town's community, loved by all. Immediately after that, I bought another chicken and named him Bill Clucky, after known cigar enthusiast Bill Clinton, or superstar comedian Bill Murray, whichever you think fits better here. My notes on day 53 start with, quote, George Quest, end quote. Not sure what that means, and I'm too lazy to go back and find the footage while writing, so enjoy whatever we manage to find and throw up on screen for you. Anyway, I managed to grab my upgraded pickaxe from Clint at around noon, and in turn, gave him my axe to upgrade. I like to think I'm single-handedly keeping this man in business at this point. Outside of that, I managed to hit a dead-end mine that evening while spelunking. From what I can gather, a bat or mob must be stuck off-screen for me and won't aggro onto me, leaving us in this predicament. Not the end of the world, but I was a little annoyed since I'd have to reset progress next time I came down here. Day 54 saw me harvesting more melons. Outside of that, I spent literally all day mining again, managing to hit level 90 at around 2 PM where I was given an obsidian sword. I also managed to find some fire quartz, which is the last item needed to complete the boiler room in the community center. At around 12:30, I managed to hit level 100 and ate a star like I was playing Mario. Can't wait to see how many pissed off neckbeards correct me in the comments, tell me that Mario doesn't eat stars, but listen, I don't care. Just watch the fucking video and move on with your day. Day 55 brought the final blueberry harvest. Not for nothing, but I also managed to get my first eggs from our chickens as well. Later that morning, I stopped by the community center to wrap up the boiler room, which unlocks the minecarts that you've been seeing all over town. No! In the afternoon, I hit up Clint once again to pick up my axe and drop off my hoe so that it'll be ready for the first day of fall. Day 56 was a wash. I just needed to pass time to begin the next season, so I did what any small town white guy would do and fished. Oh, I also bought a rare seed from the black market trader. 10th the day, I went down to the beach with everyone else to drink massive amounts of the wizard's potions and watch some jellyfish swim around. Alright, first day of fall. Super exciting stuff. I wanted to be as productive as possible today, so I spent the morning placing all of my quality sprinklers while waiting for Pierre to open up shop. Once he was ready for business, I strolled in and bought 117 cranberry seeds. Next on the list was to pick up my hoe from Clint. With everything I needed ready to go, I swung by Pierre's one last time and bought a few more seeds, bringing my total up to 121 cranberries. The rest of the day was allocated to planting all of these seeds and dumping basic fertilizer on top of them. With the sprinklers working, I now no longer have to spend 4 hours a day watering plants. I do think it's kind of funny that the goal of the farming game is to automate as much of the farming process as possible though. Anyway, I got a cutscene for a new project board that I'll never use because nobody has time for things like that when there's money to be made. I gave Gunther more junk that I had sitting around and then got to watch Penny try to assassinate George by shoving him towards a mailbox that probably had a pipe bomb inside of it. After witnessing an attempted murder, I set off for the mines, where I managed to get to floor 109 before desperately searching for the ladder to 110. I made the decision to head home defeated and managed to make it back at 1:50 a.m., a whopping 10 minutes before passing out. Day 59 brought even more mining. Shocker, I know. But wait, there's a twist. I actually died this time, my first death of the playthrough. Well, almost death. For some reason, the townspeople just like to go visit hell every once in a while and managed to find my crippled body hanging out with the cave crawlers. Wasting no time, I headed back in and managed to reach floor 115. Unfortunately, there's no zombies walking around down here, just cave rocks. With 5 more floors to go, I finished up on the cave system on day 60, hitting the floor cap that evening and retrieving the key for the skull caves in the desert. The next morning, I made a mayo machine and charcoal kiln for coal and mayo. Aside from that, day 61 was more of a chores day. I hit up Clint to crush more geodes and then donated the salvaged items to Gunther in my never-ending quest to obtain a cowboy hat. As a reward, I received the Dwarvish translation guide in order to talk to the dude who hangs out in the caves making bombs and stuff. After that, I went back to the Adventurers Guild to check out some of their gear. I figured if I buy 2 ruby rings, that'd give me a 20% attack damage increase, which is a pretty significant amount. After leaving the guild, I went to talk to the dwarf and check out his shop. There's nothing worth buying right now, but I'll definitely be coming back in the future before hitting up the Skull Caves. At this point, Chad had told me about that ring that you get from the dust sprites that rolls lootable items, so I spent the rest of the day farming dust sprites to try and obtain that. The next morning, I made 5 preserves jars, which I'll need for cranberries and pumpkins. Today was really about clearing up the farm some more. I'm planning a pretty large expansion here in the next few days, and we'll need a significant amount of space to pull it off. Aside from yard work, I finally built a recycle machine for all the junk I got in the crab pots. Day 63 started off good with harvesting eggplants. I managed to sell those and bought 17 more cranberry seeds with the profits, which I immediately brought home and threw in the dirt. With nothing left to do but wait, I set out and fixed the bridge on the beach. I only needed like 300 wood, so it made sense to just get it out of the way early. Continuing with a growing trend, I used the remaining time in the day to get some fishing in, managing to catch a few purple starred fish, including a sea cucumber. I finally placed my preserves jars in the morning of day 64. I can't use them yet, but I'll be able to start throwing stuff into them soon enough. After that, I dropped off a hazelnut at the community center, only needing a common mushroom to finish the fall foraging bundle. I really wanted to finish up the fishing bundle, so I took some time to try and catch a few fish near the mines, hoping that I can keep making progress on that. Day 65 was a massive day for Tegrity Farms. It was cranberry harvest day. I made a plan of selling all the golden and silver cranberries, keeping the common ones to throw into the preserve jars. I used the money from the first sale to purchase 100 pumpkin seeds, which I recognize sounds a little extreme, but don't worry, it gets so much worse. For some reason, I didn't plant them today, and apparently felt compelled to go kick the shit out of some death sprites for the rest of the day, so here's some footage of that. After waking up the next morning, I dedicated the majority of the day to planting and watering all 100 pumpkin seeds before going back to fishing. I feel like a lot of these days are ending with, and then I went fishing, so I'm just going to start excluding that going forward. For reference, if you see me wrapping up at like 2 p.m., just assume I'm throwing bobbers in the water, and I'll let you know if I catch anything cool or something interesting happens. Day 67 was another big spender day. I managed to find a common mushroom while walking around and brought it to the community center, finishing up the fall foraging bundle. To celebrate, I hit up Pierre's shop and bought another 100 pumpkin seeds, before spending the rest of the day farming dust sprites for the extra coal needed to make iron and gold bars. Day 68 wasn't a big cranberry harvest day, but it was a corn and eggplant harvest day. This isn't all that important. Corn and eggplants are really just to give me some extra farming XP and more spending cash. They're still nice to have though. That being said, to account for the fact that I now had 200 pumpkins to worry about, I removed the corn plots and extended the pumpkin patch to the north. Unfortunately, I'm an idiot and completely forgot that I needed things like scarecrows on my farm. After losing a few cranberry plots, I crafted 2 more scarecrows and slapped them down. Now it's time to do something I completely forgot about for like a month, and talk to people. Specifically, Abigail, who I'm supposed to be trying to marry, but in turn have just been ghosting for weeks. Luckily, it's her birthday today, so giving her amethyst bumped her up to 8 hearts. At this point, I only need a walleye to complete the night fishing bundle, so I spent a good amount of time working on that, managing to catch some more iridium fish before finally completing this one as well. I also managed to run into Abigail again and gave her a bouquet that I bought from her dad, which is a little weird in hindsight, but who knows, maybe off-brand Bob Ross is just built different. Alrighty, so Abby's trying to fuck me. Either that, or she's planning to sacrifice me to her demon gods. I don't know. Either way, it's worth the risk. There's also the thought that she might just be a gold digger after seeing my second cranberry harvest. Continuing to stack up wins today, I managed to catch a tiger trout while fishing that afternoon and wrapped up the river bundle for the fish tank. That night, I managed to stumble upon Abby hanging out in the graveyard and assumed she'd been digging my grave. I accepted my fate and prepared to meet God until her dad just Spider-Man'd out of the fucking trees, leading to an incredibly awkward predicament. On one hand, I'm literally the only person keeping him in business because all of his friends think he's a loser and shop at Joja Mart for the discounts. So it kind of feels like he's just letting me date his daughter in order to stay in business. This shit's crazy. This is Game of Thrones level of drama going on in the city, and you got the mayor piping Marnie, Abigail's digging up dead people, you got Rob Boss running around just avoiding people and going cave exploring weeks at a time. I mean, the only black guy in the entire game is confined to the mountains with the homeless, so George doesn't have another PTSD episode. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Back to farming. Day 71 saw me harvesting my first set of pumpkins. I gifted one to Abby to try to boost her to 10 hearts, but apparently it wasn't the world's coolest pumpkin, so she's still at 9. The mariner is on the island, but I need 10 hearts to get the amulet from him. If you don't know, you have to buy an amulet from this weird fish dude who just walks out of the ocean apparently when it's raining. This town is a cult, I swear. That evening, I triggered Abby's final event. Unfortunately, this also wasn't enough to boost her 10 hearts, so we'll have to wait until next week and hope we get lucky with rain before winter. I woke up the next morning to find some crazy purple-haired lady on my porch. I couldn't let the gold diggers get to me though. Today was a festival day, and I needed to dominate all the minigames. My favorite part of this is the fact that you don't even need to play the minigames, you can just gamble your way to victory. No, I don't want to brag, but I'm somewhat of a degenerate gambler myself, and I know from my experience on 15-leg NFL parlays that you never stop when you got a hot hand, and the more you hit on green, the more likely that it'll eventually hit red. Some might call this a gambler's fallacy, but those people are dorks. Don't listen to them. Bet it all on green and let it ride. Can you imagine if I streamed this on Twitch? I'd be banned before I even clicked to spin. This is why this is a great time to advertise the fact that I stream on YouTube here, and you can catch me if you want. Otherwise, I have a Kick account that I haven't touched yet, and likely never will. But you should follow that too, just in case, because you never know what could happen. Anyway, I ended up buying a rare crow and another star thing that I ate to gain more energy, which I'm not entirely sold that it wasn't just crystal meth, but I'm not asking questions, and neither should you. Day 73 saw me fishing my way to greatness. I needed a few $1,000s to wrap up the vault bundles in order to get Pam a job, apparently. Completing the vault gave me a crystallarium, I think that's pronouncing it correctly. Anyway, it duplicates crystals. It's literally a Minecraft glitch, but as an item. Aside from doing some yard work in the morning, I upgraded my axe on day 74 and added a few more items to the community center. A pretty quiet day overall. I woke up the next day to see that my first dupe jade was ready. I'd gotten a ton of requests to duplicate jades based on the fact that you can buy ladders with them in the desert, so I made that my focus since it sounded important. Stepping outside, I was greeted by a third cranberry harvest. At this point, my focus had shifted pretty heavily to grinding gear and items needed for skull caves. From what I was able to gather knowledge-wise, I'll need bombs, food, and ladders. For food, I focused on fishing since I didn't have a ton of meal recipes, and fishing was an easy way to accumulate a lot of food very quickly. On day 76, I bought a rare crow from the dwarf hiding in the caves to continue adding to my collection. Since I was in the area, I decided to swing by the Adventurers Guild to check on progress for my kill stats before resuming progress on farming dust sprites. It's Sunday, which means gifts reset, which is another way of me saying it's time to go woo Abby again. To accomplish this seemingly impossible task, I grabbed the one thing everyone loves and threw chocolate cake at her face until she gave me a 10-heart review for my services. Now all I gotta do is wait for it to rain. Oh, and build an upgrade on my house because, again, she's a gold digger and needs a bigger home to even consider marrying me. Outside of that, I finally discovered the secret woods, which was pretty cool. Now I can get hardwood without needing to pop an ED pill every other day. Before ending the day, I managed to buy a pufferfish from the black market trader that I'll be able to use on another community center bundle. That night while I slept, some random pixie fairy from Imagination Land came floating in and shit all over my crops to make them grow better, or something. I had another pumpkin harvest on day 78. Keeping it similar to the cranberries, I sold off the silver and gold pumpkins, keeping the regular ones to turn into preserves. I also gave one to Caroline because she wanted one for some reason, and I felt like being a good person. Outside of that, I managed to catch a train passing through and stole a bunch of stuff off that was falling off in the process. At the end of the day, I chose the option for artisan goods to give 40% more rewards because, duh, why wouldn't you do that? The next morning, I got my first big pumpkin harvest. I kept up with the same method, selling the good ones and keeping the commons. I tried to buy the housing upgrade today, but for some reason Robin decided she would close shop today. Truly one of those cases of vanishing when the world needed her most. While farming dust sprites that evening, I triggered another Abigail cutscene where I initially thought she was waiting to murder me, but much like everyone else in this town, she was just trying to be me. This scene also has some pretty heavy cringe in the dialogue. If you don't believe me, I highly encourage you to experience it for yourself, or you can just watch me react to it, whatever your little heart desires. Same. Oh no, does she want a duel? Oh no, that's so cringe. Oh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts. Ew. Ew. You're safe with me. Oh god, that's so gross. It's so cringy. How is she gonna profess her love? In the middle of mines around a bunch of bats. Bob Ross. Score 1 for Bob Ross. Following up the pumpkin harvest, I walked outside to another cranberry harvest. We're about to make so much money. After repeating the same process, I used the extra cash to bulk purchase hundreds of stone and thousands of wood from Robin after buying the house upgrade. This allowed me to stockpile enough so that I won't have to worry about running out of material when I want to make the farm pretty, as well as buying extra buildings or doing things like completing community center bundles, which I did later that morning. That afternoon, I crafted 5 more preserve jars before spending the rest of my time fighting balls of coal. I woke up on day 81 to find it was raining outside. This was huge because it means 1, we have some insane RNG luck, and 2, I can buy the amulet thing from the Mariner. After harvesting the gem berry, I sprinted down to the beach, where I tried to talk to the Mariner, who basically just laughed at me and called me a broke bitch. Looks like I won't be getting married this playthrough. To cope with this, I sold all of my preserves and spent the rest of the day fishing and contemplating throwing myself into the ocean. Day 82 brought yet another pumpkin harvest. At this point, I have more than enough pumpkins and cranberries to run preserves for the next 28 days, which is pretty crazy to think about. The spirits are annoyed today, which means it's a great day to go farm dust sprites, so I did just that. While exploring that evening, I did manage to find Linus's berry basket just sitting on the side of the road, so we'll give that back to him at some point. Well, the house is completed. There's a very small chance that it could rain tomorrow and I can buy the amulet, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Anyway, now that we have a working fridge, I moved all of my food out of one of the storage chests and into my kitchen. After that, I was told to check out the tunnel by the bus stop and bring a battery pack that I'd gotten from the lightning rod that I placed a month or so ago. This prompted a mini scavenger hunt that I completely bid on. Up by the train station, I placed a rainbow shell in a box, which prompted a sudden and abrupt end. The note wants 10 beets, which I don't have, so we'll need to wait for beet season, in which case I'll happily recruit Dwight Schrute to come manage my farm for me. This is used to unlock the casino in the desert, or so I've been told, so it was kind of a bummer knowing I wasn't going to be able to unlock that yet. But it's all good because I managed to make a few more preserve jars and around 20 bombs that afternoon. It's also Spirit Eve today, so I got to experience that as well, purchasing another rare crow and completing the giant hedge maze, finding a golden pumpkin at the end. Also, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but Maru just standing here looks like the Karate Island guy from SpongeBob when they're trying to get him to buy a timeshare. You know what I'm talking about? Alright. Day 84 was the last day of the fall season, which means I need to clean up a little bit and prepare for winter. It also means that I spent an exuberant amount of time trying to get a basic screenshot for the thumbnail. Thanks for clicking on it, by the way. I gave Linus his berry basket that afternoon, but other than that, I spent the rest of the day placing cobblestone walkways. Since there's not really anything to plant in the winter, I dedicated a lot of time to just decorating the farm and trying to make it more appealing to look at. Placed hundreds of cobblestone pathing, made 2 fences and garden areas, both equipped with quality sprinklers, and then moved the furnaces to the right hand side and placed a few dozen torches around the walkways. I wanted to wrap up the winter foraging bundle quickly, so I spent some time over the first few days just exploring the town, keeping an eye out for any lootable items, before dropping them off at the community center. That afternoon, I caught a demon thing walking around in blackface and followed its footprints to a bush, where it gave me a magnifying glass before running off. I'm still not convinced it wasn't just George, to be honest, but anyway, I managed to finish up another community center bundle today as well. Day 87 saw me keeping Robin in business by purchasing more wood and stone from her, along with a workbench that I'll never use. To end the day, I finally brought the gemberry to the secret forest place. I'm sure half of you watching were like having an aneurysm after I didn't immediately do this 4 days ago, so you're welcome for raising your blood pressure. I had this underlying goal to max out all of my skills before the end of this video, which is a roundabout way of me saying I spent all day fishing. That afternoon, I finally caved and bought 2 ruby rings for 20% boosted attack damage from the Adventurers Guild. With the Rings of Power secured, I dropped off more forged items at the community center before ending the day. I hadn't really been focusing on my chickens at all, but I figured I didn't want PETA to come burn my farm down, so I went out and bought a heater to throw in their coop. This led to me misclicking and buying a milk pail as well, which will come in handy whenever I decide to get some cows, but for now it's completely useless. I also completely forgot to process all of my geodes before upgrading my tools, even though I was reminded of it at least a dozen times that day alone. Or gold panning I'm thinking of. Oh, that's still cool. Oh shit, I'm so dumb. Oh no. Oh, I completely forgot to do the geodes. With nothing left to do, I built out a station for the workbench using 4 crates, since the workbench pulls resources from crates touching it. If I've learned anything about Stardew Valley in my first 90 days, it's that Pam is slow as shit and also a raging alcoholic and chain smoker. Unfortunately, she's the bus driver, so I'm at her mercy when trying to buy a ticket to Calico. The desert is super cool. That's about as descriptive as I can be about it. It's got a different trader that sells a variety of items depending on the day. It's got skull caves, it's got a pond to fish in, some foraging items, and a casino. The big issue is that Pam's charging me $500 to drive me out here every day. I managed to get through a few levels of the cave system before heading back to continue exploring. When I got back to Pelican Town that night, I finished the pantry bundle to repair the bridge that I'll never use. Walking outside the next morning, I found Pierre on my doorstep. Apparently he's like the Jehovah's Witness of seeds and proceeded to tell me all about seed variety for way too long. After Clint opened up, I ran over and grabbed my upgraded hoe before dumping a bag of geodes onto his table and asking him to smack him with a hammer. This was one of the more lucrative sessions, giving me 6 more items to give to Gunther before heading back to upgrade my watering can. I sold more of the preserves that afternoon, using the profits to buy a rare crow from the black market trader. Below him is a little mouse who sells funny hats. It may have taken 91 days to get it, but I finally have a cowboy hat, completing the brand image yet again, even if it's pink. Day 92 was the Ice Festival. Naturally, I showed up and completely dominated ice fishing, which I recognize isn't all that hard to do when your competition is Pam, who spent half the contest slamming Coors Lights. After the Ice Festival, I wasn't really sure what else to do, so after picking up my watering can from Clint, I took a bus to the desert and caught a sandfish, which is the last fish I need for the fish tank bundle. After that, I decided to take a shot at running the Skull Caves. It's definitely a major step up from the normal mines, but it's super fun and I see how people just grind this out. Probably could have gotten a little bit further in, but started so late, so I'm just going to rock that excuse for a bit and try again another time. I dropped off the sandfish the next morning, completing the fish tank bundle before heading back to the desert. This part was pretty cool. I was told to bring a prismatic shard to the desert and find something cool to do with it. So I did just that, and managed to find the galaxy sword by walking in the dirt spot in between the 3 pillars while holding the shard. Unfortunately, I never get to use it, since I changed focus and spent the rest of the day adding more cobblestone walkways to the farm. Back to trying to max out as many skills as possible, I grinded fishing all of day 95, which I thought would be enough since I've been level 9 for the entirety of the winter so far, but looks like I'll need to keep grinding. I wasn't paying attention and accidentally skipped all of day 96 by sleeping through it. This is what I get for trying to write notes while playing. On day 97, I received a letter from the wizard asking for Void Essence, so I brought him some. I feel like I completely forgot about him for the majority of this playthrough, so I'm sorry to those who were expecting him to play a larger role. Anyway, later that morning, I smashed all of my geodes and managed to pull another prismatic shard. Throughout the night, an explosion was heard nearby. When I went out to investigate, I found a giant meteorite sitting on my farm. Luckily, it had just missed the North Tower and somehow landed gently in my backyard. I'm not able to break it with a pickaxe, so I sent it off to Clint to go upgrade it for me. In the meantime, I bought a battery, some food, and some iridium from the traveling merchant, and managed to give Marty a pink cake. Thanks again, Green Gauze, for the tip on that. This is huge because it finally allowed me to get into her bedroom and grab Lewis's dirty underwear that have been sitting there for months at this point. That evening, Willie gave me a copper pan so that I could pan for gold or other minerals in the river, which I thought was really cool. I spent the morning of day 99 trying to catch the glacier fish. I figured I spent so much time fishing this playthrough that I needed at least one legendary fish to show off. I actually managed to catch it on my second attempt, and a quick thank you to Winsanity for giving me the location of this one. Anyway, I ended up buying a fish tank and tossing the glacier fish in it to keep as my own personal legendary pet, along with Chonkers and the chickens. Well, it's day 100. We finally made it. I gotta say, this game is incredible. Time flew by and I genuinely enjoyed every minute of it. There's so much to do that it seems like it'd be overwhelming, but strangely, I never felt that way at all. There was never a moment where I felt like I missed something that I couldn't just go back and do at a later time, which was really refreshing. The game itself is incredibly relaxing and reminds me a ton of the Nintendo 64 version of Harvest Moon, believe it or not. For me personally, it was a very welcome change of pace from what I normally do. I didn't manage to max all my skills like I was hoping, but I'm still happy with the progress made, especially considering this is my first time actually playing the game past the menu screen. I want to give a big thank you to my YouTube members and Patreon supporters, many of which hung out in the streams and gave me some fantastic advice on things that I never would have thought to explore, like that garden with a hidden statue in it, or the bus tunnel. I'm sure I missed a ton of stuff in this video, so please let me know and give me some tips. I'd love to continue improving at this game, and if the video does well enough, I'd love to continue making Stardew Valley content for you all. Anyway, this outro is getting really long, so thanks again for watching. I appreciate you all, and as always, thanks for stopping by.